Hey, welcome back to the channel, guys. Today's video is a special one. We're going to be talking about alley builds. I wanted to make this video last week, but I haven't had that much time to test the builds out, so I waited a little bit and just watched some other alley players. But there's some really cool new builds out there for alley, and also some really counterintuitive builds. Builds you'd think, why is he going that item first? And seeing as we're poor supports, Pepe hands, we really do need to make our first item choice count, because we don't generally get that many more items in the game. So choosing your items is, quite important for us. If you end up building an item that doesn't do anything, well, chances are you're not going to get a second item to help you out, especially the higher elo you go. So what I was doing was testing these builds out, trying to see whether it felt good, as the title suggests, to go a no mythic item build. So I'm going to run through in this video my results and my thoughts on some of these builds and what I think you guys can take away from it in your own alley games and hopefully even in other support champions. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so the number one thing about this build that's different is obviously we are not going mythic items. So why are we not going mythic items first? That's a really important thing we should talk about. Well, for the first point I noticed was support items, generally the mythic ones, aren't very good. They just don't feel very good on Alistar specifically. Locket, yeah, you're tanky and it's okay. The shield can be nice against certain champs, but it doesn't give you any sort of roaming or movement potential. And then Shurelya's is kind of the other extreme, where it's like, I am insanely squishy, and then also when you're building Shurelya's, only Kindle Gem really feels that nice. The AP in Bandleglass Mirror, I think it's called, is... I mean, it's sort of useful, your Alistar, so you can kind of burst people early game, but your AP scaling is like, you don't invest heavily enough into it to make it that useful. And building mana regen on alley generally feels like a bit of a waste of time. So I wasn't feeling super happy with either Shurelya's or Locket. I'm not building Mandate, that's for sure. And I don't think you should see any Alistars running around with Moonstone and think they're gonna do well. So what do we have left? What are we actually gonna build? So anyway, let's just go down the list. I'm gonna give my thoughts real quick. And if you guys have any thoughts here on your own about these legendary items, non-mythic legendary items, put them in the comments. I'm really curious to see what you guys think. So the first item is Deadman's. I've been testing Deadman's a lot and it feels really, really good. There are some downsides, which I'll get to in a sec, but why do I go Deadman's first? Well, I mean, I play Phase Rush Alley, and the majority of high elo Alistars will go Phase Rush if they want to roam heavily, which is a very strong support playstyle. So why go Deadman's? Well, it gives you a ridiculous amount of movement speed. So once you finish this item, you're essentially just a bard player. You're just zipping around the map, ganking mid, ganking top, being incredibly annoying, and it's just really hard for the enemies to keep up with you because you're just everywhere all at once. So the downsides to this item, however, are number one, it's expensive, and then number two, it feels kind of rough to build because it's got 3 components. So it can like kind of fill your inventory up, and you often have like pink wards, and then the movement speed item part of it with the 5% move speed, and then on top of that you have your boots and your warding item, and then like biscuits sometimes, or health potions. It's just your inventory gets really full, and what actually happens is you have 2 items and you're sitting on them for a little bit. 2 components, sorry. I mean, that's not the end of the world, but there is like this period before you finish Deadman's, but just after you've gained its components, where you kind of you don't really get a power spike, because it's a big jump between its components and its actual the purchase, because you don't get to hold 3 components a lot of the time. You're support, you got to buy pink wards. Sucks to be us, I know, right? But it feels really good. I recommend you guys try it out. It's actually hilarious how fast you move, so highly recommend that one. Second item was Abyssal Mask. Now, Abyssal Mask is a magic resist item, and a lot of people were saying, hey, you should try this out against against really heavy magic damage team comps. I will be honest, guys, I have not been able to play against heavy magic damage team comps. I feel like they're just not that common right now. Generally speaking, in high elo games, we just strongly avoid heavy magic damage team comps. Like you just don't see really heavy one-sided team comps where they're all AD or they're all AP in high elo. It's generally more balanced. And when I build Abyssal Mask and the enemy AD carry is like an actual AD carry who has items, you're just going to die insanely quickly. So I haven't had a good chance or found a good chance to build it, but if any of you guys have, let me know. So the third item is Anathema's Chain, Annie's Chains. So Annie's Chains are, I don't know, I'm on the fence about this one. Generally leaning towards not that great for Ali, and there's a couple of very important reasons why. Now, number one, tenacity on the enemies, the negative tenacity you get from Anathema's Chains on like the enemy AD carry only applies to your E. I need to test if it applies to your W stun when you hit them against a wall, but frankly, the chance of you doing that in the middle of big team fights late game are very rare. Therefore, it's not a reliable increase in CC, and it doesn't increase the knock-up on your Q. That's the huge part. So like, I mean, that's a big portion of the item's gold value that is not being used. Secondly, most team comps do not have one source of damage. That's just not the meta right now. You don't see people running around with Juggernaut comps and like all in on the AD carry Ardent Sensor meta style. That's just not common. So a lot of team comps have spread out damage. Secondly, or thirdly, which point am I on now? Let's just go with thirdly. True damage doesn't get reduced. This is a big one. Alistar already has a built-in anathemas, but for every source of damage except true damage on his R. He already has massive damage reduction, and his R also has the same problem with anathemas of not stopping true damage. Basically what I'm saying is, if you bind an anathemas to a Camille, cool, she'll deal a little bit less damage to you, but the majority of the damage you were taking anyway is going to be her insanely OP Cho'Gath Q. Like, she's just gonna Cho'Gath RU on her Q on a 3-second cooldown, and you're not getting any damage reduction. So I haven't felt that this item has been particularly great. There have been 1 or 2 times I built it just to test it out, but it's not been particularly impressive to me overall. Number 4 is Thornmail. So I personally think Thornmail is actually a really good item to build first item on Ali. Why do I say that? Well, there's like a ridiculous amount of healing in the game. Every single champion seems to heal out of the butt. There is healing from runes, healing from items, healing from passive, healing from enemy support, spamming shields and heals with Moonstone. So there's just so much healing. And one of the things you need to understand as a support player is it's really inefficient for certain champions on your team to build anti-heal. Certain DPS champs. For example, AD carries. Generally, you don't want to force your AD carry to build anti-heal. It's just not a good cost-effective item for a lot of ADs. The, what is it called? Mortal Reminder? It's not very cost-effective on them. So it's better for you to get a cheaper source of anti-heal and allow them to build more damage to actually carry the game harder. Secondly, you know, there's other champions like mages who don't generally want to build Morellos. You don't want to force them into building Morellos. So if you have certain champs on your team where you can be like, oh, I want them to build pure damage, you can go for Thornmail first item and shut down like a Vladimir or an annoying ass Aatrox or like a Biego just like perma healing his entire health bar, and you can help your mid laner. Like, imagine a Veigar. Forcing Veigar to build Morellos, I don't think that's a very good item on him. He has a much better power curve with other items. So I really highly recommend Thornmail if you are against heavy healing comps, especially things like Janna or Soraka, where pretty much everyone is getting healed, because as Alistar, when you go in and you combo someone, that is a target that your team will most likely be focusing. So you want the anti-heal on whoever it is you're comboing, and Thornmail just provides that really easily and really nicely. So I wanted to finish this video up just by, just a shout out to my still mythic wielding bros. Lockett and Shrelias, I think, are still okay items. I don't think that you should never build them. I actually think Lockett is probably one I would build more over Shrelias. Shrelias is a little bit more memey now, in my opinion. It feels more like a I'm just gonna go incredibly hard all in on roaming around the map. Because the later the game goes. Shrelia's active is still decent, but it's been nerfed enough that like it just doesn't feel as punchy as the other active items. I mean, Locket is the one I'm comparing it to. So I personally think it's fine to go mythic items, especially against heavy burst comps where you're like, I'm not engaging first. It's the enemy team that has to burst my team. Locket's fantastic at that, right? That is literally Locket's job, to stop enemies bursting you. You're just gonna find you're a little slower on the map. That's really the end result. But other than that, I didn't really have any other items that I've tested out. So I am going to be playing on my main account this weekend to avoid decay because I've been working all week, and trying some stuff out, testing builds out, and hopefully, you know, it'll go well. I might even try stuff like going back to Lucidity Boots on Ali with Shrelia's or something like that, and just kind of see how it feels to just perma-flash on people. But if you're interested, follow my Twitch, twitch.tv/RationsLol. I'll put it in the description. Maybe if I'm not lazy in editing, I'll stick it on the screen. But thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, I will see you guys on the Rift. Have a nice day.